Do you ever feel like you just can't find the one copy target you want when you finally kill the first boss? Well, you're probably starting off in the wrong place. That's bricking your run. Hey everybody, my name is Cosmic. Welcome to the channel. Over the last couple days, I've been streaming this run in my Lab Zero experience, and the best way, in my opinion, to go through to make sure you're always getting the right copy target you want. So I do want to stress in this method, it is going to be challenging because the whole thing revolves around having unique cards in your decks that can't be copied, as well as basic cards to force the game to give you the right choice at the very end, as I just showed in that clip at the start. So I am going to be going through an entire Laboratory Zero run in today's video. I'm going to chunk it up into important decision points, and you'll see at the very end that we got the right build that we want. And you might say in the comments, oh, but that's just streamer luck, that's just content creator luck, clipping very specific things. If you want to challenge it, I encourage you to go watch the last two streams that we've done on the channel, because it's all up there, unedited, it's fully proof there, and it'll go in detail on why I leave certain runs when I do, versus how I got those insane builds in very few complete attempts. So, up first, I do want to stress that we are doing this on tier 13, which is going to give us Nightmare 14, which is 160 points, which in my experience is the magic number that we're looking for. If you are lower in tier currently, if you're a newer player, then you might want to do the same style of resetting, but Mutant Sample is going to become a lot more important for you because you are trying to get a certain point limit. On tier 14, I'm going to be super honest, I do not care about Mutant Sample anymore, because with this build and what Mutant Sample would allow, it's just a couple of divines, and honestly, that's not going to make or break the content that's currently in the game. And so unless you're someone who is like, oh my god, I love Rinoa more than anything, or I love Yuki more than anything, I don't play any other character ever, if you truly want to focus all in on those characters and literally nothing else, by all means, use this same method, but then also reset until you get Mutant Sample. So up front, we are going to be starting off with this team, and the major reason for this, for those who don't know why this works the way it works, we are wanting to look for characters that have unique cards in their decks to start with. Now, thankfully for Mei Lin and Veronica, they have a very good starting unique, meaning this card, none of these cards will be copy targets. So as you're going through this run, and if you have somebody else, you might want to delete their first starting card that's not a basic. Now, for some characters, like Haru, it's gonna be really hard to make this happen, right? So you're always gonna delete somebody else's cards, but keep in mind, as you're doing this, you are going to significantly weaken your party, and this becomes a real challenge, I will fully admit, because my characters are definitely not fully invested by any means. I got lucky with the extra egos here. Like, my heals are weaker, my memory fragments are, while upgraded, they're usually pretty bad stats, so I would recommend, if you're truly trying to do this, make sure your characters are upgraded, especially for their basics, because those do come in handy and are very, very important as you're going through this run, I found out. So with that, of course, that gets to the point of, well, what am I looking for ultimately? So here is our team. We are going to go in, and as you may be familiar, there is this event at the very start that lets you pick one of three options. So I might speed this up a little bit depending on what RNG gives us, but we are going to go see this, that these are our options, and right here there will be a item or a node that says remove 2 copies. That is the only important option. And now the other reason why I've been wanting to make this video, and I'm glad I see it here as just an example, so many people have been taking the early conversion item here, and it just will ruin your chances, because this is now another copy that can appear on the final boss. If nothing else, please do not take the conversion event. Stop doing this. It is actively bricking your runs. All right, and lucky for us, we did get the one that has decreased health. You can either get a stress by 20 or a decreased health option. And why this is so important, right? I know a lot of people will also instead just go for the select one. But you have to remember, the goal is not only to reduce the number of cards that could be copied by the time you get to the first boss, which is how you get the best builds, but then also making sure that we are removing basics when we need to for all other combatants. Now, again, there are a couple combatants that want to have their basic cards, like Mei Lin, as we have for this example, but she still has a shield card that we are looking to remove. So for this example run that we're doing, I'm going to pick this node, and for this run in particular, I will always be removing Source of Water, and then the other copy is going to be for one of Nia's cards. In this case, we are going to be removing the attack. Now, again, if you have a different character other than Mei Lin, you might want to consider removing whatever this card might be, because it's going to make it that much harder to find the right card for your copy choice. So do keep that in mind as you're going through it, but for at least this one example, you are always supposed to remove Source of Water and one basic card from your the target that you're working on. Again, in this case, it's going to be Nia, as you're going to see in the rest of the video, and this will be the best start that you can do in Chaos Zero Nightmare. So if you like this type of guides and videos, make sure to like and subscribe, as it does help a ton. But otherwise, we are going to go through this and just get into the actual run now. All right, so we just jumped into a fresh run, and what we're looking for is a early shop and a tunnel for our first half. So very luckily, we do see a shop here, and we scouted a little bit ahead, and we did see a tunnel. Now, in this build, I am going for Nia, so I want to find Eternal Hunger, and that will determine which card is going to be our copy target for this build in particular. For this run, of course, we're going to get to the tunnel. That will be our deciding factor if we jump out early. Based on if maybe we get a lucky event, we'll keep going. But otherwise, I would recommend going until the last node, because you might get the Mouthful event, which is really important for getting 2 extra removals. And that is basically the way that you absolutely guarantee you copy the card that you want to copy, as we got on the first night of streaming this setup. So we're going to dive in and see what our nodes look like. All right, so going into our first shop, again, we do have the unique here with the Flame Dragon's Jewel, so it's not something that's going to get copied. We did hit an Epiphany for Mika, but maybe lucky or unlucky, it's Deluge, so it has the unique quality already. So for this case, we're just trying to find the early removal. In this case, we're going to remove Tactical Analysis to lower the amount of copies that we have once we get to that first stage. So in this case, Tactical Analysis is going to get removed, and we're not going to have a lot of credits, so we're not going to buy anything. And also really important to note now, as we're going through these shops, do not buy neutral cards at all on the first floor, because it's only going to make your run worse when you're trying to get that copy at the very end. All right, so we're finally getting to the tunnel. We're just going to jump in, see if we can get some type of event with it. Oh, actually, we get a treasure trove. Sure, maybe we don't actually get a tunnel. We'll see what the other one is. I don't think I've ever gotten a, well, that's a better one. I don't think I've ever gotten a mythic into tunnel, so we'll see if that's possible or not. New weapon for Mei Lin is nice, just to give her a little bit more damage. I'm going to hold off on giving Nia the armor, because we can finally find something a little bit better later. And it is back-to-back. You will absolutely love to see it. So we are looking for Eternal Hunger. That is what we're hoping to see here. But this is also an opportunity that if we get nothing, we just go on to, oh, baby. We do get Eternal Hunger, and this is definitely what we want, because it combos very well with one of Nia's cards. It allows you to put it back on top of the deck and continuously give you the free draw and free AP. It is absolutely busted if you get this and also have Dimensional Cube on your main damage dealer. So we got the hunger, and we're going to take it, and we'll cut it here, just go into the removal, see how things go, and hopefully we can get lucky. We still have to hopefully high roll the removal event at the very end, but this is all coming together very nicely. So we'll get jumping ahead and see where the next event takes us. All right, so we've made it to the final shop right before the boss, and here we have an interesting choice. So again, keep in mind that basics will never copy, so we can just keep the basics for now. Anything that has unique cannot be a target, so we still have some of our basics. And we were lucky enough to get one more Epiphany right before the boss, so we did get the key card that we were looking to copy. If we got this far, and if we went to the boss and we did not get it, then we would just have to start the run over. However, we did get the card we're looking for, so we are live, as I'm going to call it, for this boss. However, and then I guess Mika doesn't have any viable targets here. Now we're in a very interesting spot. So G-Cord only has one good Epiphany that we could be looking for, so this is a cut option. However, we also have Mei Lin, who's being the babysitter for this run. So we don't want to remove too much of her damage, but we do have a free, it has retain, which is really nice, so that it doesn't go back into the deck. But of the cards that we have, at least for what we're at right now, this is going to be the removal piece for us. And again, we don't want to spend any of our credits. We don't want to pick up a neutral. You could look for like a shield upgrade or something if you really wanted to. Maybe there's a certain piece that you really were digging for, but it is very, very expensive to do all of the removal. So I do not recommend buying or getting any neutrals or anything like that until you are in the second half. So this is good enough for where we're at. We are just going to skip the training and all that stuff. Unfortunately, we are in a breakdown state, so we're going to go into this boss. Hopefully we can clear it. And again, didn't get the couple of removal events that we really wanted, so we're just going to go through this, hope for the best, and see what we can get at the end of it. Try to hopefully combo something relevant here instead. We are going to call this good enough. At least get one of her strikes. Try to do a little bit more damage, right? I just realized in case we hit the one. Okay. I'll say we should have done that first just because we had the other card in our hand, but there you go. We get it clear. And hopefully, even with the couple misses that we had during this run, hopefully we can get the right copy because we've done the best that we could optimizing our chances during this run. And unfortunately, it does give us Nia's Curiosity, which would be so good if we didn't have Eternal Hunger. Now, it does still technically work because we can draw into it, so this is like a okay copy, but ideally, we are still looking for the other version. So I would call this a good enough to continue. So yeah, we'll take one of the good copies that we have. We can still get the Eternal Hunger, piece all of this together, see if there's anything else that's going to be good in here. Sure, this is not like the final piece that we're gonna want. Also, we're never casting it, so it doesn't work the way that we want it to, but it gives us a little bit more health for the run, so sure. And with that, we are going to put this into Nia's deck because she is one of the few characters that can actually use this and loop it properly. And we're gonna go in through an interior and see what we can get. Now that we're into the second part, what I would recommend, sure, we will take all the free, for all the free action points. Now here it gets really interesting. We do want to look for events because there are special ones that we can get. They're going to give us more card removal or give us more dupes, what have you. And we also want to try and find shops because we do want to remove even more cards. So we do actually have a double shop here very early on. It doesn't look like we're going to see another tunnel. We have another shop. Okay, we have a ton of removal, which is really, really good going into. So all of our credits are being saved for removal at this point. Looks like we are gonna miss a tunnel, but we at least have a lot more setup that we can do here with a good amount of random events, which again can hopefully find us some good good wins, as it were. So we'll see how the rest of this run goes. But again, trying to make some cuts as we're going through this to cut down as much as possible for the sake of this video. So we're in the middle of a run and we finally got the full combo of how this is supposed to come together, including the Soul Rip on top of it, which is going to give us the discard. So for this turn, what we are going to do is start with the Soul Rip. We're going to use the Adagio to get the draw into setting cards on top of our deck, which if I do this properly, it should actually stack this as the one that goes on top. And then because we drew Nia's Curiosity, we're actually going to be able to look at the top 3 cards, find this again, and then draw with the effect, which is then going to trigger, give us the deck cycle, go through the whole pattern again, and then give us the extra AP as well. So that is how this whole cycle is supposed to go. And then we could even go into Nyx as well. Discard the cards that we don't want, try to loop back into our attacks, and then get to do this whole cycle again. So that's how it's normally supposed to work. All right, we made it to the final shop, and here is, well, where we're at. So we were able, just the shop right before this, remove her last basic. So we set ourselves up perfectly to try and get a copy. Now, again, if we would have just accepted the Nia's Curiosity earlier on, we could have finished this build. We could have all went home and been happy with it. But I am greedy. I want to have the turn 1 plays. And unfortunately, we also did get Whirlpool and Blessing of Waves on interior. Just got a little bit unlucky, but we still at least have a good amount of uniques in the deck. So at worst, we could just get another Nia's Curiosity, and then it's kind of no harm, no foul. At this point, we don't have enough for the removal, as I mentioned, so we still do not want to get a neutral card. I want to stress that so much here because we are going to worsen the chance of getting the right copy that we want. So we are just going to refresh this. Maybe we see a different weapon that we really want. I don't think there's really anything. I didn't kind of plan this far ahead, honestly. I don't think there's anything else that we really care about. I know like the gear bag might be tempting, but otherwise we can just use our use our items. Maybe if we had like a secondary character that we wanted to use here, right, we could get a different weapon, try to upgrade our stuff. Mei Lin has dimensional cubes, so that's fine. Otherwise, we are just kind of going through this, and there's really nothing. There's nothing that we want. That's fine. Unfortunately, we are playing without the rest. Now, I do want to stress, if you were happy enough with this build, this is where you would quit if you're on like tier 15 or something and you wanted to save that role. If you leave here, you can still get the save file without going against the boss. Now, again, the downside is you're missing out on the mythic item, and you're also missing out on the copy potential. And again, we really do want to get the copy potential here. So I am going to go fight this final boss, see what we get, and, I mean, hopefully get a good mythic out of it, too. There's always that option. So we will see where things go from there. Again, at this point, just our basic attacks are going to be enough to hopefully get us there. 232, so... well, a little unfortunate, but one more turn doesn't hurt. But if you've been paying attention to our AP during this entire run, it's where you can really start to see the value of Eternal Hunger come through. But we'll just do one last attack here, and please, please, please give us the last copy that we need. And unfortunately, we did hit the mute accent at the very end, which is going to be very bad for the deck consistency that we wanted. But we do get the copy that we want, at least. You know what? I will take that. Also, super funny, the time that we don't actually want it, we do actually see the unity of attack and defense. But we do get the perfect copy right at the end to bring this full build together. So you know what? I'll take it. And maybe we get a mythic. That's really good here at the end too. So here we are at the very end to talk about the build that we were able to get. And again, on stream, super fast build to get this done. We were able to loop this, get out the right way, and we're able to get not only Eternal Hunger, but the right copy on the final boss, which was super awesome. Now, heartbreaking is that when I was going through this run, I actually used the wrong calculation and double-clicked on something that I shouldn't have. So we should have one more Nia's Curiosity in this build, and I'm super bummed out that after all that, we got just a little bit unlucky because, well, I made it oopsies. But also because I'm recording this in the morning after because I messed up something and I'm re-recording it, I got to test this out a little bit. And I will actually say, as important as I thought it was to hyperloop Eternal Hunger, when I test this in my other build, you generally only need to loop it once, and that's more than enough. So actually, we only need a single copy of this card to get the effect an extra time to get the draw, get the AP. And instead, I think you do want to hyper focus on Nia's Curiosity instead, because this not only powers up whoever is using Dimensional Cube, but it allows you to make sure from that very first turn that you have an increased chance of going through your deck and finding the right pieces so that you can always combo off, right? The most important thing is always going to be looking through your deck and trying to find, you know, that one combo piece that we're missing. And then what's really nice with her ability in particular is that we still want a draw filter so that maybe on the turns we use Ego Skill to discard in our entire deck. We want any type of draw effect to force a reshuffle and then allows us to get those pieces again that we might have discarded. So having another character that has like Belligerence or any type of draw effect or Confiscation if you have another forbidden style of deck is really good to combo here, just to make sure you get that full deck shuffle. But the last thing that I will mention here at the very end is that, you know, for example, if we would have gotten a mutant sample and if we would have been able to, let's say, get the mute accent out of the deck a lot earlier, you know, then sure, we could have gotten maybe like a divine if we got lucky enough. But from a overall good enough build in terms of what Nia can be doing, right, we actually did get the good starts here for what we have. So I'm very happy with this. For me, who is just trying to build out multiple guides, multiple team comps and all that stuff, this is absolutely a good enough build now, and I will not be using or going back in with Nia at any time because I am very happy with this. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I again wanted to try to stress a full run and just chop it up where I could to not make a 2-hour long video. So hopefully this format was a little bit better. If you want to see future runs like this where I talk about critical moments of the run itself, then definitely let me know in the comments down below. But until next time, my friends, stay safe, stay hydrated, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers.